Fatima's fingers trembled around her Metro card, Parisian drizzle smudging her eyeliner. 48 and still lost in a city that moved too fast. A stranger, some artsy type in mismatched socks, thrust a steaming cup into her hands. Chamomile. Lit cure for existential dread. She almost laughed. But warmth seeped into her palms, her lungs, that knot in her chest loosening like a sigh. Later, between market strolls and mispronounced cheese names, she'd spot a flyer. Tea-tasting Fatima's Metro card slipped again, that clumsy step between train and platform tripping her confidence like an untied shoelace. Parisian crowds moved in a blur, their chatter a river she couldn't ford. 48. She'd expected wisdom to arrive with gray hairs, not this gnawing fear of never belonging, a suitcase left half unpacked, neither here nor there. But Wednesday mornings were hers. She drifted past market stalls, inhaling apricots and fresh thyme, fingers brushing lavender sachets like old friends. Then, tea shop. Its window held a porcelain cup, delicate as her grandmother's hands pouring chai under Karachi's noon sun. That cup whispered of rituals, of roots that could bend without breaking. Inside, a flyer for a tea-tasting meetup caught her eye. Stress relief and sips, it promised. Fatima hesitated, then signed her name, ink smudged from nerves. That first sip of chamomile was a shock, floral, faintly sweet, like courage steep slow. Strangers became faces, then laughter, then stories. By third meetup, she brought her own blend, cardamom sneaking in like a smuggled memory. Cup no longer symbolized what she'd lost, but what she carried. Paris didn't need her to fold herself smaller, it needed her flavor. And damn if that wasn't a little bit lit. Fatima's fingers trembled around her Metro card, Parisian autumn wind nipping her cheeks as she fumbled through turnstile. 48 years old and still tripping over cobblestones, both literal and metaphorical. But today, a crumpled flyer caught her eye near a patisserie, the E.T. Tranquilite, a weekly tea tasting in Belleville. Something about sketched chamomile blossoms made her chest loosen, just a little. Her first visit was a comedy of errors. She arrived early, mistook a regular for host, and spilled an entire cup of vervain on her scarf. Yet instead of scowls, she got winks. A silver-haired woman named Claudine, who smelled like lavender and spoke in warm, rolling vowels, pushed another cup toward her. Ma chérie, stress floats away faster with friends. Fatima hadn't realized how much she missed ritual of sharing tea, how her mother's hands had always steadied pot back home. Here, steam curled like a promise. Market strolls became her new liturgy. She learned which vendors tucked freshest mint into paper cones, whose honey held traces of chestnut blossoms. Claudine dragged her to a Moroccan spice cellar, and Fatima's laugh startled even herself when he teased her about her rusty darija. By November, she'd memorized tea circles' quirks, Marcel's endless Madeline anecdotes, Sophie's habit of humming Edith Piaf off-key. One evening, Claudine slid a chipped teacup across table, blue forget-me-nots circling its rim. Found this a brocante. Thought it might hold your stories better than my ears. Fatima traced cracks, gold-veined like kintsugi. It wasn't magic. Some days, her hands still shook. But now she knew weight of a cup could anchor her, that belonging wasn't about perfection, just showing up, steam rising, again and again. Fatima's fingers trembled around her Metro card, Parisian rush hour swallowing her whole. 48 years old and still flinching subway screeches ridiculous, but there it was. She clutched her tote tighter, its contents a jumble of groceries and unread French phrasebooks. Market strolls used to be her joy, bargaining with vendors in broken sentences, but lately even picking out figs felt like an exam she hadn't studied for. Then she spotted it, a chalkboard outside a tiny epicerie, Degustation de the Vines Stressor Moins. Tea tasting to stress less. Woman snorted. Could chamomile really fix a life crammed with missteps? But her feet, stubborn as ever, marched inside before doubt could stop them. Shop smelled like her grandmother's kitchen, warm, floral, a whisper of home. A woman with silver-streaked hair slid a steaming cup toward her. She wrapped her palms around it, heat seeping into her bones. First sip, honeyed, light. Second sip, shoulders dropping like they'd been waiting for permission. By third, she caught her reflection in teacup's curve, not a lost migrant, just a woman sipping her way back to calm. That cup became her rebellion. Mornings began with its steam curling up to meet her, evenings ended with its dregs tipping down sink. She signed up for next meetup, then next, until her French stumbled less, and her laughter came easier. One afternoon, she brought baklava to share, sticky fingers and halting jokes bridging gaps words couldn't. Paris didn't soften, but Fatima did. She carried her teacup like a shield, its chipped rim proof she'd fought for every sip of peace. Some days stress still lurked, a shadow in metro tunnels, but now she knew antidote. Steep, sip, stubborn onward. Lit? Maybe not. But alive, yes, fiercely so. Fatima's fingers trembled around her metro card, Parisian rush hour swallowing her whole. 48 years old, carrying a homeland in her bones and a teapot in her bag, she clutched that porcelain teacup like an anchor. Weeks of sleepless nights had left shadows under her eyes, but today was different. Today, she'd brewed courage with chamomile. Market strolls had become her sanctuary, crates of figs, bundles of lavender, whispers of Arabic mingling with French. One stall sold herbs, their owner a wiry man who scoffed when she asked about stress relief. Tea won't fix loneliness, his smirk said. But she knew better. Back in her tiny flat, she'd practiced pouring until her hands steadied, memorizing each steep's golden hue. If Paris wouldn't welcome her, she'd make it taste her warmth instead. So she did unthinkable. Right there by Seine, under a bridge humming with tourists, woman laid out a checkered cloth, her grandmother's teacup centered like a crown. A sign, handwritten in wobbly French, chamomile for heavy hearts, free. Skeptics side-eyed her. That same herb vendor lingered, arms crossed, until curiosity hooked him. He took a sip, paused. His scoff cracked into a stunned mon Dieu. Word spread. A student slumped over textbooks brightened after one cup. A grandmother, knuckles aching, sighed into her first calm afternoon in years. Someone snapped a photo, steam curling from Fatima's cup, her laugh crinkling corners of her eyes. By sundown, her phone buzzed with a viral post, Paris's secret stress slayer. As applause rippled through crowd, woman cradled her teacup, its chipped rim proof of survival. This is my start, she thought. Not as a woman lost between borders, but as someone who turned petals into power. Even Skeptic returned, sheepishly offering his finest mint leaves, a peace treaty. She winked, tossing in a pinch. Now it's lit. Paris kept rushing, but for once, Fatima didn't tremble. She poured. Fatima's fingers trembled around her metro card, Parisian chatter, buzzing like static. 48 and starting over, she missed scent of jasmine in Marrakesh's alleys, but Paris offered its own magic, if she dared to sip it. One evening, frazzled after a market stroll where figs cost more than courage, she dumped a chamomile tea bag into hot water. Steam curled like a promise. First sip, warmth unspooled her knots. Soon, her tiny balcony became a sanctuary. She'd cradle her chipped teacup, same one that survived 3 moves, and watch sparrows bicker over crumbs. Odd habit? She named them. Pierre, bossy one, always stole biggest crust. Laughter bubbled up. Stress didn't stand a chance against absurdity and tea. Then a wild idea. What if others needed this too? She tacked a flyer near her favorite boulangerie, the and tranquilite, sip away stress. First meetup, 2 women came. Fatima guided them through tasting notes, honey, apple, a whisper of earth, while they shared stories of lost careers, lonely winters, grown kids who never called. By third sip, shoulders relaxed. By fifth, someone giggled. Months later, her gatherings were lit. A Ukrainian artist brought lavender shortbread. A retired bookseller confessed she'd never used her good china till now. Fatima's teacup, once solitary, sat circled by others, each a tiny island of calm in a chaotic city. Paris hadn't softened, but Fatima had. She built bridges steeped in chamomile, proving home wasn't just a place, it was a ritual, a shared steep, a quiet I see you over steam. Steep your courage. Share cup.